Welcome to Milk Market Tidbit for the February Dairy Products Report that the USDA released on Thursday afternoon after the markets were closed. This is Dr. Lawrence Jones, and I'm recording this on April 4th. So when we get the Dairy Products Report, it kind of pulls everything together for the month, but what we're most interested in is the cheese production. It turns out the typical numbers as well as what StoneX had projected were very, very similar, so that came in very similar. There was just a minor downward revision of the cheese production. Now, when it comes to fat, the typical number was very close to where we actually came in. StoneX was a little bit lower, and the revisions were actually up just a little bit. So here's the total cheese production. We've been on this tremendous upward trend. We kind of came down 3 years ago a little bit, but we've continued pretty well on the same trend now, just at a lower level. And this cheese production is an all-time record. Not only is it a record for February, but it is just an all-time record on cheese produced per day. And I've been working on trying to predict what the cheese production will be. And so this is a regression of the actual versus predicted going back about 6 years. And this is where the sample came in. And it was exactly where we thought it would be. And the p-value on that is 0.88, so there was no statistical difference between the projection and the actual cheese production. The American cheese is pretty much the same thing. We've been on this upward trend. We fell down about 3 years ago, but now we're continuing on that trend again. And if we plot that out, that will be the highest February American cheese production. It's not an all-time record, but it is a record for February. Same story with cheddar cheese, which is a large percentage of the American. Again, here's our upward trend. Here's where we are, and we're not even a record for February. There was 1 point higher in 2023, but we are continuing up, and that still is a fairly significant amount of cheddar production. Again, I've been trying to build a model that will estimate this, a little bit more noise in this, but this sample came in exactly where we expected it to be, and the p-value on that was 0.77. So again, no statistical difference between the expected and actual number. Italian cheese has been moving on an upward trend. We broke that long-term trend and began moving up. And this is an all-time record for February. Now, we did have just a little bit more than that back in January, but again, Italian cheese is what we're exporting, and that's the biggest piece of the cheese that we're making. Dry whey, we've been on a downward trend, but we're pretty similar to where we've been on that long-term trend. So whey has been coming down, and I think there's something going on in the last 3 years with cheese production, and it's just been a little bit more efficient, a little bit less whey. So overall, we're just on downward slope of whey production. Now, the one that really surprised everybody was butter. This is an all-time record. So we've been on this upward trend, and then this, like I say, is just absolutely blowing away everything for butter production. Some of the what we call spoonable products, ice cream, we've been on a kind of a long-term, slightly downtrend, and we came right back to that. So that is very much where we've been on this long-term trend. Very seasonal. Yogurt production continues to come up. It was actually a little stronger than we thought it would be. And then, of course, the one that continues to surprise me is cottage cheese, and this is continuing to go up, and was actually up a little bit this month with a record production. So that concludes the data for this week. And again, the next Milk Market Tidbit will be for the statistical uniform prices that come out after the 12th.